alcoholic, and I have the pleasure of introducing Coyle. Stephen and I have known Coyle for decades, right, Coyle? 3+, I think. And so we go back a long way. And we were, Stephen couldn't be here tonight. He's at pre-assembly, something like that. But we were talking about because October 5th, because Lara's not here and Audrey and Stephen's not here. And he was like, who should we get? I said, Coyle, let's get Coyle. And he's like, oh, I want to be there when Coyle talks. I said, we could get Coyle. So I won. So Coyle said yes, and I'm so glad. And he is a dear friend of ours and a dear friend of AA's. And I'm so happy that he's going to share his story with us. So Coyle.
Okay, my name is Coyle. I'm an alcoholic. First of all, I just want to say again, thank you for the invite. For whenever the hand of AA reaches out, I want to be responsible. And so when Steve asked me to be a speaker, I automatically just said yes, because that's what we do. That's what we do, and we share our experience, strength, and hope, and share our stories in a general way of what it was like, what it used to be like, and what it's like now. And so, as Nancy was saying, we go way back, man, over 3 decades. But I remember in the beginning, before I met Steve and before I met Nancy, I had went to treatment over in Olalla, over by Bremerton. That's where I went to treatment at. And so I was over there for like 30 days, and I didn't want to leave. And because it was the only place that I had been for as long as I could remember, except when I was a little kid, that was safe. It was a place, man, where I felt like nobody was trying to get up over on me, or I didn't have to watch my back. I felt comfortable, and I felt like there was a common thread with the people there. We all shared the same dilemma, the same feelings of being by ourselves, being alone and things. And so we all have some commonality there. And so I told him, I said, hey man, I don't really want to leave. Is there anything I could do here, like landscape or being a janitor or something, because I didn't want to go back out there into the world, man, because the world was scary. It was a place, man, where there was not good. And they said, no, Coyle, you're going to be okay. You just trust the process, trust the program. You're going to be okay. And with that, they sent me into the next phase of the treatment, which was the Salvation Army down on 2nd and Pike Street. So I remember getting off that little van, man, and I'm not from here either. So this was all new. I'm from San Francisco. This was all new. And so I got off the van and on 2nd and Pike Street. That was back in the day when there was the heyday too, and I just remember asking God or somebody, like, how am I going to stay sober? How am I going to stay clean? How's this going to work for me? I'm in the beast of the belly of the beast. I saw the same things that I had got away from right there. I saw the drunks, the drug addicts, the fighting, the chaos, the drama, all that stuff that goes with being downtown and being in an environment of people who were addicted or who were in crisis. I saw all that. I didn't know how this was going to work. So um, I wasn't new to treatment centers and institutions and stuff because I had did that in California. So I wasn't used to, being in an environment where there was, 20 beds in one restroom or, or being in an institutionalized type of situation. That was not nothing new to me. Jails are like that. So you just got a whole bunch of dudes and one or two toilets, and you fight to stay to survive. So I was okay with that. But there was a guy that I didn't know. I met him when I got there. His name was Dave Butler, and he was from here. And so he said, "Hey man, I lived here in Seattle. I know everything. Just hang with me for a little while. I know where the meetings are and everything, and it's cool." We were like night and day, man. This guy was square and a graham cracker and twice as crummy. I just could not relate to him, but he knew where the meetings were. So I hung with him, and I just kind of trailed around with him. And when he got on the bus, I made sure I sat 5 seats in back of him because I didn't want to be like, but that's just the way my head was thinking back in those days. Um, so we went to meetings and that's what we did, you know, 4 or 5 of them a day. And I, um, I just kind of like one day realized because time just kind of goes by. You don't really, because you're not working, you don't have no school, you don't have any, ambitions, no goals, no nothing. You just surviving in that mode of survival and just like just going on just a wing and a prayer. And so, but I woke up one day and I realized I had about 6 months of not drinking. I wasn't in recovery. I hadn't did a step or anything, but I noticed I hadn't drank, and I noticed that my life was a little bit better. I had a couple of friends, people that I can kind of hang with a little bit. Um, I had got 2 or 3 more pair of jeans and stuff because when I went there, I had nothing, man. I had just what I had on my back. I had got some clothes. I was able to kind of take a shower, a couple of times a week, you know, and so it was better, and I felt better, a little bit better about myself, and so um, I just I just I just said, okay, I'll just keep on doing this, but I was always looking for a reason that it wouldn't work. I was looking for that little wiggle room. you know. So I'll tell you a little story. After I got out of the Salvation Army, I went to a halfway house on Weston Street in Seattle, and still doing the same things, going to meetings, um, not working, nothing else, just basically waking up, going to move. But life was a little better, man. I felt a little better, and I gained a little weight, man, and you know, I was able to put two sentences together, and I was able to look people in the eye a little bit. I was still kind of skittish and toxic a little bit, so I didn't trust a lot of people, but it was a little bit better. And so, being one of the guys from the halfway house was walking down 15th Avenue in Ballard one day after going to a meeting at the church over there. And so we were walking down the street, and we was all excited and happy, man, because sobriety and life was good, and we were just high on that, man, just high on being sober. And we saw a backpack on the street, on the sidewalk. So we picked it up and we looked inside of the backpack. And inside the backpack, there was a whole bunch of dope. You know, it was all kind of different dope that I didn't even know what it was, but I knew some of it. I knew it had the crack cocaine in it, the heroin, and all that, and some pills, and had a gun in there, some cash, and some needles and stuff and everything. And so we picked it up, and because we were new, and we were living this new kind of life, we decided to take the backpack and give it to the manager of the halfway house. Do the right thing, right? So we turned it in, but being that I was not completely recovered, I kept the flashlight. I say I was a little dishonest. I was still a thief. And so I kept the flashlight. It was one of those big police flashlights. And I don't know why I kept it, because I tried it. It didn't work. I just wanted to steal something, So I kept it and I put it in my room. And I just left it in my room. And for a long time, it just stayed in my room. And so one day it was raining and I looked up and I saw the flashlight and I got it. And I took it and put it on the bed and I popped it open. And inside the flashlight was stuffed with weed. I mean, it was packed with weed, man. So I got a newspaper, threw it on the bed, took a screwdriver and got in there and dug all this marijuana out. And it was like, ooh. And it was like a big pile of marijuana. So I said, damn. And so I put all the weed back in the flashlight, and I said, if this AA program don't work, I got me a little seed money, to literally speaking, I got a little seed money to get started and I can get the hell on out of this town on to the next town. So I stuck it back in there, put it back on the shelf. I kept going to meetings. And so about 2 or 3 months later, I was still there at the halfway house. And I said, you know what? I looked at that flashlight and I said, man, my life has been pretty good up to now. I hadn't still did any of the steps or anything. I was just sober by the grace of God. But I said, I know if I keep that, that's going to be an anchor around my neck. So I didn't ever tell anybody this for a long, long time either. So I took the flashlight, took it out, took it down to the toilet, dumped all the weed in the toilet, flushed the toilet, and that was it, man. Yeah, I kept on going because I was always looking for a way, like I said, that this program, that I could wiggle out of it, that I can get away from it. So when Bill W., when he wrote the after the 6 steps they got sober on early in the day, they kind of did the Oxford program, and so they did the 6 steps, and so that's what they did back in those days, 1935, and so Bill said that he said, okay, we got this little foundation, but now we've got to put it together of how it works. And so Bill sat down and he wrote the first 3 chapters, the first 3 pages of chapter 5. He sat down and he did it in like a half hour. He wrote it in about a half hour. And he added 6 more steps to it. So it became the 12 steps. And anyway, he floated that idea out to the rest of the members and other people that he wrote it down and gave it to them to read and stuff like that. They said, "You crazy, man. You got 12 steps. What are you talking about? We had 6, now you got 12, And so he was going back and forth. with hearing these different reasons, and people said it got too much God in it, man, and people said it doesn't have enough God in it, and it was this whole big drama and stuff like that. And so Bill just finally said, "Hey, look, you guys want to make some changes? That's cool, but I got to be the one that makes the final decision." And so they agreed to that, and that's kind of how that went. And so Bill ended up writing, and he didn't really change a lot either. Most of the original stuff that he wrote is still the stuff that's in there, but he had to appease everybody because everybody wanted their little 2 cents in there. But he did change a lot of stuff. If you ever get the original manuscript of the program, you'll see some differences in there. He had a lot of things about directions and praying, and they changed a lot of that stuff. It's real interesting to see how they finally came up with the way we see it now and the way we read it now. But it was always, like I say, that little wiggle room, as Bill wanted to make it airtight. And so that's what we have now, because the program of Alcoholic Anonymous is in the 164 pages of the big book. And that would be my message to anybody right now. If I'm working with a new guy, something like that, say, "Hey, man, the answer what your life is, or what the roadmap, the blueprint is right here. And this right here, if you do this here, you'll have a good life." I can tell, but it's just all the in between stuff. You got to, the stuff that we all go through. It doesn't come easy for us. We find different reasons for it to procrastinate, or to put things off, or to look for that little wiggle room. And so it's not as easy as it sounds, but that's where it's at. It's in that 164 pages. So I remember going to a meeting that I had about a year and a half up on 1504 Club in Seattle on 15th Street. And I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden I just kind of was looking at my life, where it was at. I hadn't went to jail. I was sober, had a few friends and stuff, and life was a little bit better. But it's like, is this all it is? Is this all it is? And Bill talks about that in the big book too. They call it the jumping off place, where you can't experience, or you don't really know, uh, you can't imagine life with or without alcohol. It's a real tough position to be in, because you're sober, you can't go back, but you're scared of going ahead. It's a jumping off place. And that's when this lady came in to me and said, "Hey, Coyle, I found a meeting that I went to, and it's a little different than the meetings that we go to up here in our little circle we go up to." And so she told me about this meeting at Seattle College, Community College. It was, I think, a Tuesday night. And I went to that meeting on a Tuesday night, and Steve was there. Steve was there, and Steve was sharing. And so after the meeting, I don't know what motivated me, man. I don't know what I was attracted to this guy about. I mean, he's a nice guy, but I went up and asked him. I said, "Hey, man, would you be my sponsor?" And I remember what Steve said. He said, "I'd be honored. I'd be honored." And so he said, "What are you doing, next week?" And of course, all of a sudden I had a busy life, It's like, "Okay, can you meet Wednesday?" I said, "No, Wednesday's that's not a good day, That's not a good day." He said, "Well, what's a good day for you?" I said, "Oh man, I don't know, man, So he said, "Well, hey, is Thursday a good day?" I said, It depends. He said, well, what's a good time? And so, but anyway, he narrowed it down to where I didn't have no wiggle room, man. So we finally, he said, well, okay, Thursday at 10 o'clock at the Starbucks up on Broadway. And he put me into a box. I couldn't get out, you know. That's what you have to do to new people too, because new people, man, all of a sudden they get this life and they got business meetings and appointments and dating and all that stuff. So anyway, man, I started meeting with Steve and we met, the following week and the following week and the following week, and then Steve and Nancy were doing their thing, and they had their house down on Franklin Street in Seattle, and so we started meeting at Steve and Nancy's house every once a week, and so Nancy, just like she does now, Nancy had a nice warm house, man. She had food, I mean hot food, not just those finger snacks. You know what I mean? You had to get a plate, man. It was like go around, and it was really nice, man. And so, we were full, and so when you're full and you're kind of more susceptible to hearing stuff. That's what I think. But anyway, a group of us, we met there every week. We went through the book of Alcoholic Anonymous, and we read every line in the big book. And we had a dictionary with us. So for every word that we were not sure about or had different definitions in, we looked it up. That made a big difference to me because some of the things meant different things to me, and I said, oh, yeah, that's what they mean. And so it started to sink in a little bit. We did our third step together in a group there, and the fourth and our fifth, sixth, I did my eighth step and ninth step with Nancy and Steve, and wrote my amends, and went and made my amends, my financial amends, and my family amends and amends to the people, and this is over like a 2-year period. So I mean, it was not like this happened just overnight. It was we trudged the road, man. Life got good. Life got really, really good. I ended up getting a really good job and went back to school and got my degree. And it's just a lot of good stuff started happening for me and stuff. And it was a result of these 12 steps and being in this program. And Steve is still my sponsor today. 35 years later, still my sponsor. And I love this lady right here. She's been there with me all the way, every step of the way. But they tell us in our big book, they tell us that we'll meet friends like this, lifelong friends, man, that we'll meet along the way. I know Bobby right there, man, from way back. He was back in those days, back early, down on the 1504 and 23rd and Cherry. So it's good to see Bobby here too. We know how it was like, man. And so the first step, man, I kind of did the first step. I just wrote a note to God. And it says to God, come in my life. I can't do this no more. Can't do this by myself. And I turned it over. I kept drinking. Even when I was writing it, I still was drinking. But I said that I was powerless over alcohol and my life was unmanageable. I did that and I let it go. Soon after that, I ended up going to treatment. But step two, just came to believe. It was like, power greater than myself can restore me to sanity. And they asked Bill W. one day at a conference, they said, Bill W., what do you mean by return to sanity? Are you talking about a bunch of crazy people, man, that's out there? What do you mean by that? Bill W. said, return to sanity. Yeah, he said, I am. I'm talking about a bunch of crazy people because we alcoholics do things over and over again, expecting different results, no matter what the situation was. I mean, you have people being in hospitals, man. Like walking out of hospitals, going to the liquor store and stuff like that, man. And somebody told them, "Hey, man, you only got so much to live, but okay, give me some liquor before that time." Crazy stuff we do over. So the power greater than ourselves restores us to sanity, so we don't go back and redo that, and we don't repeat that. So that happened in my life. Step 3, I made a decision to let God be the director, the principal person in my life. And every now and then I have to go back and remind myself of that because sometimes I get away. I'm still an alcoholic. I'm just, I got some clean time, but I still have an alcoholic mind sometimes. So when I get in a situation, and Steve will tell me sometimes, he say, Coyle, didn't you make a decision a long time ago that you was going to turn this over? So I said, oh yeah. So you go back and say, okay, God, you the director, you got this. And then, step 4 is submitting, your faults. That was tough because it's hard to see yourself in those situations, but you write it down and you admit your part in it. And it's like, you know, uh, after you get through it, you go back and look at it, and it becomes clear the part that you played. When you were out there being selfish and self-centered, and making decisions for yourself. You get to see that, and then step 5. You just admit that to another person. I remember I did that with Steve, and Steve said, "Okay, Coyle, are you sure you wrote everything down?" I said, yeah, I got it, man. I got it, man. I wrote everything. So he said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I got it. He said, well, I'm going to give you another half hour sitting out on this balcony. Well, and he left. I wrote for another hour because I hadn't wrote it all down. I had still kept some of the inventory back in the closet, some stuff that I thought I'm not going to tell nobody. But it says you made a thorough moral inventory. So it was a complete. And so I ended up doing that, and I coughed up stuff, man, that I didn't think I'd never tell anybody. And I ended up telling Steve. And step 6 and 7, just asked him just to, hey, help me with the character defects and shortcomings that I have. I did that. And like I said, you make the list from step 4. You make the list, and then you take that list and you go out and make amends to the people that you have harmed, and became willing to make amends to them all. And so that's what I did. And I remember doing one amends. It was a financial amends at a Safeway out in Federal Way that I used to steal from. When I was before I got clean and sober, I used to steal. I used to go to that store, and I used to call it cattle rustling because I would steal a lot of meat. I had steaks and pork chops and everything. We used to just make a joke, man. You been cattle rustling? Yeah, I've been cattle rustling. So, but anyway, I wrote out the amends to the Safeway. It was $300, $400 something dollars, and I wrote it out. And Steve said, let's look at it, because the way I had wrote it out, it was like, okay, here I'm. Some black guys going into the store talking about money and with a note. that don't go over too good. If you don't do that right, that could be the wrong way. So we redid it, and I went down and talked to the manager, and he pulled me back in the office, and he said, "I just want to thank you, man, for what you're doing, and the best of luck to you going forward." And he kept the check though. And so that was cool, I was good. I walked out, man, like I was floating on air, man, because I felt clean. I felt free. Today, I live my life in 10, 11, and 12. I continue to take the personal inventory. If you go to my house right now, you see my big book on my table with some other AA literature, because I'm always writing. I'm always trying to stay in the solution, because if I'm in the solution, I know that I'm not in the problem. Try to reach out, help somebody, because step 12 says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to the alcoholic who still suffers. That's what I'm trying to do today. That's worked for me for a long time, and that's what I'm going to keep on continuing to do. So I want to thank you guys. Oh, this is Happy James Bond's Day. Yeah, you guys know James Bond. So the first movie for James Bond was in 1962. It was Dr. No. And this is, so I just want to end on that note. So thank you very much.
Thank you.